No, listen, the Patriots missed their window here. Not to keep Tom, but to have Tom sign an extension prior to free agency. You're now at he's reached the finish line. Now he just has to wait for the clock to expire, and he will get to visit other teams. He will get to see how other teams do things, have other coaches, have other owners woo him, have other teams put in front of him 3 years, $100 million. I think that contract might be out there for Tom Brady, even if the last year is more of a dummy year. The only way I believe, Canty, the New England Patriots prevent Tom Brady from reaching free agency is if they do what they could have done 9 months ago to prevent this from ever happening, which is not offer him a contract extension, offer him a multi-year contract extension with guarantees attached past the first year, so Tom Brady knows I'm not going to be back in this same position again next year. I don't think the Patriots are ready to do that. I think they more want the rest of the market to set the market for Tom Brady. And so, yeah, I don't expect that we're going to hear Tom Brady and the Patriots have agreed to a deal prior to free agency, because if that was going to happen, it would have happened prior to this past season.
Well, if they don't agree to a deal before free agency starts, then there's a $13.5 million cap charge that hits because they amortized the signing bonus that they gave him on the last deal. So it's a situation, if they don't get something done, then Tom Brady's not coming back to New England, because you can't have $13.5 million on your cap and then turn around and pay him market value or pay him anything close to what other teams are going to be looking to offer him, because you only have $29 million in cap space to start with. So to me, this has got to heat up sooner rather than later, just because the New England Patriots have got to form a plan on how they're going to deal with their quarterback situation going into 2020. They need to know if Tom Brady's going to be around. And if he's not, they need to move on to their contingency. So I don't think this is going to drag out to the legal tampering period that starts on March 16th, because Bill Belichick needs answers sooner rather than later.
Well, we keep waiting for them to make a decision, but maybe we're just missing the tea leaf. We're not reading the tea leaves here. Maybe they are sort of making a decision by not approaching him. Am I right?
Well, that they would rather Brady break up with them than him have to officially break up with him.
Maybe they are sort of making that decision.
I think that they would. I do think they want Tom Brady back, but at what price, right? I don't think they would prefer Brady just totally walk away. If Brady said, guys, right now, I'll play for $20 million, 1 year contract, $20 million, I think they'd sign up for that in a heartbeat. The question I have for you, though, Canty, is what incentive does Brady have to not hit free agency? What incentive you're saying that it's got to heat up quick because of the dead money charge? Yeah. And it's a smart point, and it's a good point, and it's one a lot of people are missing. That if the moment free agency starts, if Brady's not on a new deal, $14 million hits their cap due to previous contracts. But that's a New England Patriot problem.
It's not a Brady problem.
That's not a Brady problem. If Brady played through this season without a contract, asked them to put in the franchise tag provision where they can't do it, it was to hit free agency. What incentive does he have when he's at the finish line to not actually hit free agency?
Well, I don't know if that provision was put in place to necessarily hit free agency. I think it was put in place so he could have as many options as possible.
Negotiating leverage?
Anytime you're a player and you have a lot of options, chances are you're going to put yourself in a better situation. And I think that's what Tom Brady was looking for. And by better situation, I'm not saying a different team. I think better situation could mean more money. It could mean more weapons. And I think that's what Tom Brady is looking at, because everybody's criticizing him now and saying that he's fallen off a cliff because you had a lack of production in the passing game in comparison to years past where we've seen Brady at an elite level. Sure. So I think that this is all about Tom Brady trying to take advantage of the twilight of his career. And in order to do that, he's got to force Bill Belichick's hands in order to put pieces around him. Because when you start looking at all the other prospective destinations for Tom Brady, I'm not sold that he wants to sign up and go play for those organizations.
It might be true. Just the one very quick follow-up. If part of it is what you said about weapons, Brady would be just assigning a lot of faith to the Patriots that they will actually go get those weapons. Because if we're talking about him signing before free agency begins, it would be a leap of faith for Tom that it's like, Tom, come back, sign this deal, we will go get X, Y, and Z. Tom's going to have to take them on their word on that because free agency will have not begun yet.
But not if it's a multi-year deal, because you have an opportunity then.
Multiple bites at the apple.
At the apple. Yeah, I've been saying it all year long. I think that Tom Brady's receiving core leaves a lot to be desired. It's Julian Edelman and it's a lot of other Jags. And when I say Jags, I'm not talking about the team in Jacksonville. What I mean is just a guy. That's where he's working with. I mean, there's a reason why Tom Brady had his highest average time to throw of this decade this season. 2.63 seconds to throw. In that situation, it's not because Tom Brady doesn't know where he wants to go with the football. It's because his receivers aren't where they're supposed to be. Those guys aren't getting separation, and Tom Brady is past the point where he can elevate the play of everybody around him. So I think there's a lot to be said for not having any true difference makers outside of Julian Edelman in that Patriots receiving core.
I understand the argument, and I'm not sitting here arguing the Patriots had great weapons. I don't think they had great weapons. But I do think when you look at Mohamed Sanu was acquired the same day Emmanuel Sanders was acquired. Emmanuel Sanders ended up having a really quality second half of the year with San Francisco. Mohamed Sanu was non-existent. Maybe the Patriots acquired the wrong player, or maybe Emmanuel Sanders got to play in a better offense with a better quarterback. The Patriots took N'Keal Harry ahead of every rookie wide receiver that was drafted this year except for Hollywood Brown. How many I feel like this was the year of the rookie wide receiver making an impact. No superstar impact, but you can go.
Debo, A.J. Brown.
Debo, A.J. Brown, McCole Hardman, McLaurin, DK Metcalf.
Yep.
Okay, aside from McLaurin, what do all those guys have in common? Quarterbacks who maybe can buy a little extra time. Quarterbacks who are not so reliant on if it's 7 yards, you've got to go 7 yards, you've got to. Okay, you can freelance a little bit. I can scramble somewhat, and you can just be, while you're learning the mental side of being an NFL receiver, you can do the backyard football stuff. You can break off your route. I can chuck it to you deep if you're just a straight line guy like DK Metcalf, or you have blazing speed like McCole Hardman. So maybe the Patriots drafted the wrong guy in N'Keal Harry, or maybe N'Keal Harry had a harder job than just about any of the other rookie wide receivers because there wasn't going to be any freelancing, and it was all about timing, precision, all of those things, because that's all Brady can do at this point. So I think there is an element, yes. If they still had Gronk, if they had if A.J. Green, they had acquired him, obviously the numbers would be better. How much better, though? Do I think that the receivers were enough of a detriment that I agree with PFF that if you normalize for receivers, Tom Brady was the 10th best quarterback in football? No, I think he was closer to 15th or 16th. I think this year Tom Brady his numbers say he was below average. If we give him a curve because of the pieces around him, to me that bumps him up to average. It doesn't bump him up to the fringe of the top 10. The concern for the Patriots, though, is this. It's one, that wherever his play is, it's going to dip at least somewhat at age 43 in year 21. And the other one is, I do not buy that the cavalry is coming, that a team that had never spent a first-round pick on a wide receiver is going to do it in consecutive years, that a team that went out and traded a second-round pick for another wide receiver is now going to spend high dollars on A.J. Green or some player in free agency. I think they will address the tight end position. I don't think they're going to go spend high dollar on a running back. When they drafted a running back in the first round 2 years ago for the first time since, what was it, Lawrence Maroney, I feel like, a decade ago. So whatever the problem was, I don't see it getting solved because it would be so out of character for the Patriots to spend even more heavily on skill position guys when they've spent the heaviest we've ever seen them spend via draft capital over the last 2 years, and they haven't gotten the results to go along with it.
Well, it makes sense to complement what you already have because the defense is ready to go. You can compete for a championship with that side of the ball. So if you're Bill Belichick, you probably should look at continuing to invest on the offensive side of the ball. And if you keep Tom Brady, invest around a quarterback that's no longer capable of elevating the play of everybody around him. It's not unreasonable to think that Tom Brady, at this stage of his career, needs a little more help than he needed 10 years ago because he can't manipulate the pocket the same way that he once did. He doesn't have that level of mobility. He's 43 years old. Yeah. So I think at this stage, you recognize that you've got to do some things to improve the roster. I think the tight end not only helps you in the passing game, but it also helps you in the run game. For them, being more balanced makes a whole lot of sense. But, Nick, I have to look at those receivers that they went out there with last year, And you really have to scratch your head and say, you wonder how many quarterbacks would have been capable of having a high level of productivity with those guys. According to PFF, this same publication that put the article out, the 3 highest receiving grades from the Patriots didn't come from any of the receivers that they had on their roster at the end of the year. Antonio Brown, Landon Roberts, who was a linebacker by trade. And caught one pass. And James White, who's a running back. So, I mean, at some point, you have to look at the receiving core and those guys actually doing their job. And I don't think they did it at a high enough level. And so, yeah, you have to put some of this on Tom Brady. But I think the overwhelming majority of it belongs on that receiving core.
The one quick follow-up, and I know it might be an unfair standard to hold a 42-year-old quarterback to, but I don't look at the Patriots having any better weapons than the Seahawks had. And Russell Wilson was second in MVP. Well, I guess nobody was second in MVP voting because Lamar was unanimous. He would have been. He was the second-team All-Pro quarterback. To me, Lockett and Edelman they're not similar skill-wise, but they're similar as far as if we were going to do Madden ratings, if you will. And DK Metcalf was drafted after N'Keal Harry. The Seahawks lost their tight end, who wasn't some great tight end, Walt Disley. They lost him to injury early in the season. And Russell Wilson's great. And so he made it work. Tom Brady, once upon a time, could have made it work with these guys. The narrative that I just will reject is that no one could have succeeded. And I'm not saying this is your narrative, Candy. Yeah. That no one could have succeeded with these receivers.
Right.
A quarterback that is still great could have done better than Brady did with these receivers. But however well he did last year, what they are going to be relying on is those receivers getting better. Is N'Keal Harry getting better? Is Jacoby Myers getting better? Because aside from a tight end, I don't think you're going to have a huge influx of talent if Brady is back at those receiver positions next season.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.